that's super interesting. And today, when I was coming back from the farm, I was researching like Nepal isn't even in the coffee belt, you know, and there's still the climate to produce really good coffee because you have all of these microclimates in the Himalaya mountains. And today, when I went to the coffee farm, I saw the plants and they were super healthy. So that's super interesting to me.
Exactly, because the terrain that we have, looking after the terrain, it's we have a very high potential on producing very good, good quality coffees, and more of a good quality specialty coffees actually. But we do not have a proper information how we can do it actually. Yes, there are a lot of things which we can look forward to, but still there are a lot of problems that we need to face because of the vegetation that we have. So the farmer knowledge, how to produce the coffee as well, how to keep the soil fertile for a very long period of time, and there are a lot of farmers who do not have the idea, coffee can be a cash crops as well, because most of the people are still practicing the traditional method of doing the farming side. But coffee culture is growing slowly, so there are a lot of people who understand that they can get or see high income if they can produce good quality coffee in near future. So there are a lot of people, let's say young people, who are really into farming side, especially in coffee. So yes, I'm hoping for the best, and the new technology that we are getting, we want to take that to the farmers as well and make them understand what they can do and work on the let's say farm, or let's say during the processing methods, and a lot of things.
Yeah, very interesting. I when I think and when I hear you talk about the processing methods, and I've seen some of the videos you showed me about how the washing process is done here and these things. I find it really interesting because from the processing standpoint, it goes in a direction that even we in Colombia are heading towards, because in the past we would use lots and lots of water to ferment the coffee and these things, and now more and more we are in washed coffee or in fermented coffee, when you depulp the coffee, you have a couple of possible ways to ferment it. And you can just depulp it and leave it with the mucilage and ferment it that way. And there are new machines that, after this has happened, they take it into eco mill, it's called. So it uses a very little amount of water to, after the fermentation has been done, to just wash it. And so it saves water, it's good for the environment, and it does pretty much what we used to do with the old processing facilities I was telling you earlier about, with much less water. And so these things could be very interesting. I could show you maybe some Colombian companies, but maybe also Indian companies that can bring it to you cheaper, can maybe also make it. Yeah,
that would be great actually. I would love to see that as well. But there are a lot of things in a positive way, if we have to look after these things. There are a lot of farmers who are getting access to depulping machine right now, but still there are a lot of farmers who do not have access to depulping machine as well. They do not have any idea about the depulping machine. So if you see, I have talked to some of the farmers who who are practicing depulping with their hands. So they basically wash the cherries. They grow the coffee cherries in around I think 2 or 3 plants. They harvest it, they grab around like 10-20 kgs of coffee cherries, and then depulp it with their hands.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, they waited for like 2 or 3 days in the water. It is soaked, and after that they wash it with the hands, and they remove the outer skin and pulp, keep the parchment, and they do the hulling process as well. I've spoke to those farmers as well. So I have asked as well. So there are a lot of people like this who do not have the idea about the processing methods as well, and they do not have the idea how easily these things can be done
with a machine.
Exactly.
And like when they process it with the hands and they depulp it with the hands, have you tasted the difference?
Yes.
How is it? Because I'm super interested. I have no concept of how that would taste different. So please tell me a bit about it.
It's kind of similar. it does not have any much changes or any unique flavors. The reason for that is after the processing, they pulp the coffee cherries, they stored in different places where they didn't have the idea how to do it or how to store it. So the coffee were oxidized actually, and it tasted more of like aged as well. So I spoke to the farmers as well, and I asked him, what did you do after the processing or after the depulping the coffee cherries? He said that we put this thing into in a normal muddy places, or let's say the place where there were a lot of straws and everything. So that might be one of the reason the coffee were aged. So the thing is that I came to know that they didn't have the idea how to store the coffee as well. And now, as you might remember, we spoke about this thing yesterday as well. The farmers might be doing the work very properly, but there are a lot of things during the processing methods and storing the coffee as well. People need to take care of those things as well, because if the coffee is not stored properly, though the coffee have a very high potential of scoring 90 plus coffee, but at the end of the day that won't be scoring even 85 or let's say 80, because the coffee tastes more aged because of the storage problem. So that is one of the reasons that people need to, or let's say farmer needs to understand, especially in Nepali market.
For sure, they need to be more educated, and they need to understand that like one thing that's said a lot in the industry, and I think a lot of it is true, is that once the coffee is on the tree, that's the highest quality it will get. So all of the chain, it has to look after how to keep quality high.
Exactly.
So after the processing, if you don't dry it correctly and if you don't store it correctly, then maybe some unwanted bacteria or fungi will get into the coffee and will change the flavor in a way that doesn't help it. So if the people learn how to store it correctly, how to dry it correctly, that would automatically increase the quality and make for a better cup.
Exactly.
And then also farmers can ask for a higher price and get a better payment for it.
And also the other reason that I really believe that when I think the farmer needs to taste their own coffee as well, because they need to understand what are the different the quality actually is, what are the commercial coffee tastes like, or what specialty coffee tastes like, and how they can improve it as well.
For sure.
And how they can improve the processing methods as well, because there are a lot of farmers who are still practicing, or let's say the old traditional method of processing the coffee beans, but for them that might be new. But if you compare those stuff to the international market, for example, the thing that you just said during the processing method that you guys do and the processing method that we do in Nepal, it's totally different actually. So these are the traditional method that we have been doing it, but the farmers, they are just learning it right now, and it's a new thing as well. So this is something very much important, and it's very much to concern about, because unless and until we do not teach the farmer, or let's say ask them to drink their own coffee, or the coffee that was produced in the same farm, they won't understand how they can improve the quality of the coffee. Because there are a lot of farmers I've spoke to and asked them if they have tasted their own coffee with a different roasting profile, or let's say using any kind of equipment. There are a lot of farmers who has been explaining me that they have not seen the espresso machine till now, or they have not seen the brewing equipment till now. So that is the main thing that we need to really concern about, because as a barista, it's not about serving the consumer only, but as a barista, or let's say producer, the farmer needs to understand what quality coffee they are producing and what quality coffee that the consumer is drinking. So the whole chain should be much more concerned about the last cup actually. That's what I believe. So that's, if we can control that one, maybe not on the high level, but on a smaller level or a smaller quantity, where people, or let's say farmer, understand what they are producing and what is the value of that cup to the international market, or let's say national market, I think we can definitely come up with very good quality coffees.
For sure, and I think also it's a big responsibility of, for example, roasters to teach the farmers that they buy from, because in this way, when the roaster buys the coffee from the farmers and they teach the farmer how to increase the quality, the roaster will have better quality, and they can also pay the farmers better. And so most of this information normally is the roasters have it, and if the roasters ask sometimes there are producers that or mills that will buy the coffee cherries or the parchment from the farmers in wholesale and then sell it to the roasters. And so if the roasters ask for high quality and provide the education, then more and more farmers can learn how to do these things in the right way.
When we spoke about the producer, I believe that we had this communication. The definition of the producer in your language and in my language is totally different.
Yeah, because when I talk about the producer, I'm thinking about the farmer.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the producer, you were talking about
the people who does the farming as well, but also collects coffee and sell that to the directly or the cafeteria, who does mostly the same stuff.
Yeah.
Because most of the people over here, they do the they have the farm as well.
Yeah.
They also buy the coffee from different places.
Yeah.
They also grow the coffee.
Yeah.
They does the milling process. They also have the roasting machine, and they try to they sell the packaging, the drinking coffee to the cafeteria.
Yeah, I understand.
So that is the main reason I believe that this should be called as a producer in Nepal. Maybe yes, outside of Nepal there are a lot of people who understand what actually the producer is.
Yeah.
But over here we have a lot of cooperatives and the private companies who mostly have their own farm or grab the coffees, and they're basically doing the large quantity of coffee business actually.
Yes.
So yeah.
That's really interesting to me, because for example when I come from Germany, in Germany there isn't one single coffee tree growing and producing. It's like everything is imported from overseas.
Yeah.
And so in Germany you have the trade chain in Germany is you have the exporter in the origin country, then you have the importer in Germany. And most of the importers are like big importers that buy from many different origins, and then they sell to the roasters.
Yeah.
And so the roaster then produces the coffee, packages it, and sells it to the cafe or sells it directly. So all of these, in Germany at least, are different companies.
Yeah.
Of course, there are some roasteries who do all this process themselves, and even some of the roasteries in Germany have a farm overseas somewhere. But that's why the communication there is a bit different, because there are almost no people in Europe, I would say, that or there are some, but they all have, if they have a farm, they have it overseas somewhere else. And so the chain is a bit more lengthy than here. Here you have...
We have it very short.
Yeah.
By the way, this is only my definition of producer, not the everyone. So please, disclaimer, if you claim that, okay, this is the thing, I'm so sorry. This is only my definition.
Yeah, no worries. No worries at all.
Because I see in that way, because we have a very small community that in coffee culture, and there are a lot of things to be done actually, and we do not have very long chain actually.
Yeah.
So there's only one person, or let's say one company, who does the farming as well, collects the coffee as well, and roasts the coffee, and they package it, and then they sell it.
Which is very good for
the business perspective.
For a business perspective, because you don't have middlemen.
Yeah.
So when you have the producers here in Nepal, they are doing good business and they're helping directly the farmers, and they don't have like middlemen like overseas who do the whole trading. So this is really good actually.
But still be expensive coffee, you see.
It is very expensive, yeah, I've heard.